Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 53 of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins. Today is a special episode of this show. It's dedicated to running Kubernetes at home. Normally I have this whole rant about how every night I blah, 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 but you know what? Today, I'm not going to say all of those things. However, before we get started, remember that it's a live show, which means that there's live chat. So you can join the chat on Twitch or on Discord. It's funny, sometimes when I say Twitch, I like whistle. Twitch. You can join the live chat on Twitch or on Discord, and then there's a bot that relays messages between them. Unlike YouTube chat, this allows the conversation to continue after the show ends. So even if you're watching this later, you can still come and hang out with us. There's stuff happening, people talking all day long. If you're watching live on Twitch, click the follow button for the channel. And if you're watching in the future, click the thumbs up button on the video so the YouTube algorithm shares it with other people. There's a community site that I also invite you to join. Links are in the video description, and I'll start this little thing scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So before we get started, again, let's just pop over and say hi to those who have joined us in the chat today. Who do we got? We got Nuno's here. We got Ian. Good morning, guys. Vito. Scrolling back. Kai is here. Good morning. I know OneDrop is listening. He was going to join the show today, but he's in the car. Anyway, hello anyway. So we have other people here, and I know that people always start joining after the show. Kent says, Kubernetes at home? Heck yeah. Hey, Angel on Fire, waking up on time for the first time. I'm glad to help. I get up, depending on, because I work US Eastern hours, depending on where daylight saving time is happening here in Chile or in the United States, I either get up at 5:30 every morning or I get up at 6:30 every morning, even on weekends. Whatever. I find that I get more stuff done in the morning. Oh, and of course, the lovely wife bot is here. Code all the things. Good morning from the Midwest. Joining us directly from Twitch. Thank you. Okay, so if you were in the show yesterday, you saw that OneDrop posted a invitation to his server, which I summarily deleted. And I said, please don't do promotional stuff during my show. He and I talked about it afterwards. And it's not don't do promotional stuff, it's talk to me first. This show exists to share information about Kubernetes, cloud native, software, things and stuff like that with the community. But I want to make sure that the stuff that's being shared isn't just drive-by. If you've been on Discord for any length of time, you know that there are people who just pop in and they're like, oh, my server, invite everybody. Or they do raids, or I don't want that. I want to make sure that the content is quality. So after the show, I grabbed OneDrop and I said, hey, show me what you got. Turns out OneDrop is somebody that I know. Not only is somebody that I know, but is somebody who has watched the show since the show began. And when we were streaming on YouTube, had a name. His name is Devin. Devin and I met in 2017. He worked at a company that was my first on-site training engagement right after I started working for Rancher. He still works there. When he and I first met, he was pretty quiet and reserved. I was there to teach him about Rancher 1.6. And he showed me what he has built. And it's not just him. It's him, it's Jeff Belimek, and it's some other people from the community that you're about to see. And I was absolutely blown away. And I said, okay, I'm putting this on the show tomorrow. Are you ready? Here we go. Now, I don't know the full history of how this started. I understand that it's Devin's project, but that he more or less collected a bunch of other individual projects that were going on out there in the community, brought those people together, created a Discord server, and just really gave everybody a home. And what you have here is a GitHub environment called Kubernetes at Home, which is a whole mess of Helm charts related to things that you might want to run in a home lab or a home environment. I've spoken before that I run Kubernetes at home, and I now refer to my home cluster as a production cluster because it does some really important stuff that I can't just nuke randomly. So I have to be careful with it. There's stuff in here that I've never heard of, and since the content of the show is related to things that I would use, do use, would like to use, don't have time to use, like he basically did all of my work for me last night by just giving me a single place to go and look at the charts that they have. So what we're gonna do today is I'm just gonna scroll through some of these things so you get an idea of what we're looking at. And remember, all the links for this will be, well, all the links will be in the video description and stuff after the show, but obviously if you're using GitHub, you can just go and look at K8s at home/charts, and I'm not hiding anything from you. So we'll go through some of these, and then I'll extract some of them and talk about specific things that I do run here in my Kubernetes environment, and also things that I'm excited to go and deploy in my Kubernetes environment. And we're going to end with a surprise of something else that he's done that really impressed me. You go to Artifact Hub and you can search for the org K8s at home. Do you see that here? And you'll pull up, they have 58 charts here right now. And these are all really, really high quality. In some cases, they've built these charts from things that had containers. Like, they've really done an excellent job of putting all of the stuff in one place. If you scroll through, you'll see that a lot of these things are related to watching movies, downloading things from the internet. And we're not here to tell you what to do or what not to do, but I do want to point out that all of these tools exist to download legal things like Linux ISOs and stuff that people have freely shared and made available for you to download. And in no way are we endorsing that you do anything else with them. You know, the same way that hammers are meant for pounding nails and not for, whatever, you get the idea. So what do we got here? AdGuard, Bazaar. There's a series of things here. Radar, Sonar, Bazaar. I mean, we'll talk about those in a second. Bitwarden, Blocky. Everything in here is just outstanding. Frigate, we're gonna talk about in a second. Grocy, I wanna know, I think that's a little bit weird. Let's start with Home Assistant. Frequently when people start doing stuff at home, it's because they want to do home automation. And the number one super most disgusting problem that we have right now with all of these smart things is that they all are connected to, I was just looking for my phone again. It's here, it's on the teleprompter. You buy something, you buy a wall-mounted electric heater for your bathroom, and it's like Wi-Fi enabled, but you gotta run their stupid app, and it connects out to their SaaS service running in China. If you are connecting IoT devices in your house, and if you're somebody who watches this show, you have the technical chops to segment all of that stuff on its own VLAN, its own IP block. Let them talk to each other because they don't care. Do not put them on the same network segment as stuff you actually care about. Isolate them and do not let them phone home. If you need to, at the most, open a port or allow them to communicate outbound to like download an update or do something and then shut that stuff down again. 100% of those devices, all the way down to the smart TVs that you're hanging on the wall, are designed to collect information about you and your environment and ship it out somewhere. So lock it the heck down. I discovered Home Assistant because Home Assistant, genius, is an application, and I didn't discover this yesterday. I've been running Home Assistant for years, and I have lots of feelings about what's good and what's not good about Home Assistant. But basically, Home Assistant has plugins that talk to all sorts of different pieces of technology, different protocols, different solutions, including things like that Wi-Fi. I'm gesturing over here because it's on the other, you can't see. It's on the other side of that wall in my master bathroom, this 800 watt wall-mounted panel heater for the bathroom that I have rigged up to turn on automatically when the alarm goes off if the temperature in the bathroom is below a certain amount, and then set to turn off automatically an hour later. So I get up, I make coffee. By the time my wife gets up, the bathroom's all nice and warm. She likes that. So Home Assistant collects all of these things together and gives you a way to communicate with them and interact with them and set up triggers and automation scripts and a bunch of other stuff. If you have any smart device in your house, Home Assistant can probably talk to it, and you should just go and run this. But Home Assistant itself has some shortcomings. Tall Brew says, good morning, been running Home Assistant for years now. Good stuff. Yes. So my only real complaint about Home Assistant is it just supports everything. And they're releasing updates to it so quickly. It's a lot more stable now than it used to be. But Home Assistant for a while was a commitment in pain when it's like, oh, really? Okay, I got to upgrade. They've made like 800 breaking changes. I've got to reconfigure all of my stuff. And the Z-Wave config got nuked. And I've got to re-enroll all my devices and then individually label them. But you know what? It's free and open source. And it's pretty amazing, despite occasionally doing something that I disagree with. Home Assistant's primary shortcoming is in its automation scripts. It's written in Python, it's extensible, and the way that it wants automation written is easy if you're doing basic if-then stuff, but once you get into complicated multi-conditional situational stuff, or the need to query something and then make a decision in the decision tree out, like, oh, if the temperature is above 26, do this. If it's between 18 and 26, do that. If it's between, it breaks down. So the next thing that I recommend that you look at is Node-RED. Node-RED is unbelievable. And it connects to Home Assistant, so it can watch all of the events coming out of Home Assistant, and then you can set all your triggers, and you can push stuff into MQTT or pull stuff from MQTT, or you can do whatever. I have a Node-RED environment, and I was on a call with somebody, and now I don't remember who. Shoot. I was on a call last week, and there was an engineer on the call, and he was like, really? Event-driven programming? I thought that was just a gimmick. And I was like, no, you can actually do some really crazy stuff with this. I've put this on the show before, but you see that we have these, they're beautiful. You put these nodes in, and then you drag connections between them, and you just start to build block-based programs. You can have link nodes that connect to other stuff to do other things. So for example, I have a Z-Wave wall mode. You can't see my cursor. Can I select these? Yeah. So down here, I have a Z-Wave wall mode, which is like a 4-button switch on the wall. And then that goes into Home Assistant. Well, Z-Wave goes into Home Assistant, and then Home Assistant sends it out to here via the event. And then it comes in, and I set it up to a switch, and then I can trigger all sorts of different things. Like at night, I do a long press on it, and it comes in and it performs this whole shutdown routine for the house where it turns off all of the lights, triggers the motion sensors to do things. So if we get up at night, it brings hue lights up in a red dim mode. You can't do this kind of stuff with straight up Home Assistant. And once you get into Node-RED, just if you're using Home Assistant, look at Node-RED and just move your automation stuff over to it. That's a really easy thing to do, and it will open up tremendous doors. And you'll find that pretty soon you'll be creating Telegram bots with connections to pushover, or you'll go crazy like me and where's solar? Solar. You'll go crazy like me and you'll wire it up to the Victron control unit, which speaks MQTT, that runs all of your solar panels and your battery, and set it up with intelligence to determine what level of grid power it can pull when it does need to charge from the grid, so that it doesn't overwhelm the grid and result in the inverter disconnecting because voltage drops to 190 volts. This is the main production thing that I talk about in my environment. Node-RED is amazing, and Node-RED also talks to basically everything. There are charts for both Home Assistant and Node-RED in this repo, which is fantastic. I run Node-RED inside of Kubernetes, but not with a Helm chart. And I run Home Assistant outside of Kubernetes because I didn't want to go through the trouble of putting it into Kubernetes. And it never occurred to me, somebody probably built a Helm chart for it. The next major thing that I run is a Pi-hole. And on the show, we have talked about Pi-hole versus Blocky. We haven't really talked about it. I've said I run a Pi-hole, and people said, you should look at Blocky. I was like, I don't really know. If you're somebody who runs one instead of the other, and you've looked at them both and made a decision for Blocky over Pi-hole, please let me know. I'm curious why you made that choice. Much like when I was running Windows and one of my friends was like, dude, you really need to use a Mac. At the time, my Windows machine did everything I needed it to do. And I told him, well, okay, when I need to do something that I can't do with Windows and that I can do with Mac, I'll switch. Eventually that day came and I switched, and now I have drunk the Apple Kool-Aid, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to ever go back to anything because I have like Mac, iPad, iPhone, another Mac. Like I'm in it. I'm done. But this is the same thing. The Pi-hole does everything I need it to do. I forward all of my stuff out to nextdns.io for external resolver because they're basically Pi-hole as a service, and that means that the stuff that the block lists locally don't capture, they do, and I'm also able to do that forwarding over DNS over HTTPS so that my local provider here in Chile doesn't hijack my connections and send them to places I don't like, which is what they do. I'm totally willing to drop Pi-hole and run with Blocky. First of all, they have a better icon. I really like the little gopher. It's written in Go. I don't really care. It directly does DNS over HTTPS, which is cool, even though I don't necessarily need that in the house for the local connections. I still like that it's available, along with DNS over TLS. Forwarding to DOH resolvers, that's great. I have to do that externally in the Pi-hole. And it runs in a Docker container, which is also cool. Right now I have a dedicated VM for the Pi-hole. But these alone aren't enough for me to switch. So I'm curious, please let me know in the chat, find me later on Discord, post it in the community site. Let's see if you can convince Adrian to switch to Blocky. There's also a chart for Blocky. Everything I'm showing you today, there's a chart for. So you see we had Blocky up here. And I'm not showing you everything that's in here. For example, I'm not going to be promoting any of the BitTorrent stuff, despite possibly thinking that they're pretty neat. This, I've never heard of this. This is part of Kubernetes SIGs. So in my home lab environment, I have Z-Wave stuff. Z-Wave is a radio protocol. I've been doing home automation stuff since the X10 days back in the late 90s with like the pop-up ads. Some of you remember those. I had X10 systems, I went to Insteon, I went to Z-Wave, and I'm still on Z-Wave, although now a lot of stuff just works over MQTT and just regular socket or TCP/IP. So in my environment in the other room, my home lab, I have a USB dongle that's the Z-Wave controller. It receives the radio signals and then converts them to something that speaks the magical Z-Wave protocol. My hands keep going off screen. The magical Z-Wave protocol. The reason that I run my Home Assistant stuff as a VM is because I can put the VM, I run Proxmox across all of my bare metal nodes. And then I run VMs, LXC containers, and on some of those VMs, I also run Kubernetes. So it's all within a Proxmox VM environment, backed by Synology NASs for iSCSI and NFS. So there's this dongle that is plugged into a node, and I make sure that the virtual machine that runs Home Assistant is on that Proxmox node so that it can talk to the dongle. If I was just doing this with stock Kubernetes, I can pass the USB port through, and then I can label, or I can set up. So basically what this does is it labels nodes according to hardware features that are available on the node. Now in the Kubernetes SIGs world, this might be, has GPUs, has a certain type of disk, or has whatever, but it automatically finds and figures those things out and then labels the nodes. And then you can use node selectors when you're deploying your stuff to make sure that your workloads land on those nodes. In my case, although I'd have to figure out how to get it from the Proxmox node into the Kubernetes node, and then all I've really done is pinned a Kubernetes VM to that particular Proxmox node, which doesn't necessarily buy me anything, pretending that all of this, whatever, it could automatically label the node, and I could move Home Assistant in as a container into Kubernetes, and it would get pinned on the correct node. That's really cool. And it's just a really cool project in general for passing hardware features into the decision-making tree of Kubernetes. Thank you, Nuno. Yeah, I said SIGs, and Nuno clarified that a SIG is a Kubernetes special interest group, and there are SIGs for all sorts of things. So if you want to go down a rabbit hole and look at what people are doing to extend Kubernetes, just here you go. Kubernetes SIGs. You're welcome. I actually want to jump ahead since I'm talking about Z-Wave. This is another thing that I had not heard of before yesterday. I haven't looked into this further, but apparently I can rig up something to bridge between MQTT and Z-Wave so that I don't even need to have a device talking directly to, like, so I don't need to have a node. So I don't need to have a pod pinned to a VM, pinned to a Proxmox node where the USB dongle is. I can just run something locally on that node that pushes all of the Z-Wave stuff into MQTT and bridges between them. Yeah, Nuno says, so today we started with tool of the day. There's no tool of the day today. Everything here is tool of the day. All of it. It's all very amazing. Very amazing. Look at that. What a terrible word. I sound like a politician. It's just this excitement. This is what I had yesterday. Oh my gosh, Robert. Oh no, I thought I knew that person, but no, he just sounds like Zalando. Z-Wave to MQTT. They have other things in the chart repo that bridge from physical devices to MQTT. Home Assistant talks to MQTT. Pretty much everything talks to MQTT these days. I use own tracks as well for presence detection. I don't have that here. Nuno. Nuno plays a game with himself every day to see if he can say something that gets me to stop what I'm talking about, stop talking about something, and then like, yeah, so good job. Well done, sir. If you are not running MQTT in your home lab environment, it's dead simple to run, it's relatively simple to use, and it's a pub subsystem. So things push into the MQTT on particular topics, and then other things that care can subscribe to those topics. And then it becomes an event-driven system. PubSub is a wonderful piece of technology. 8:52. All right, we're gonna talk about some other stuff. Apparently I'm gonna run out of time. I'm gonna go for 3 more minutes, and then I'm gonna talk about the second thing that I wanted to talk about from Devin today. Frigate. NVR with real-time object detection for IP cameras. I have 6 IP cameras scattered around the property. I've got 2 at the front gate, one that points at the gate and one that points at an area where fishermen used to trespass. But I don't have anything to trigger motion detection because trees move in the wind and rabbits hop by and stuff. This will take the RTMP stream from the cameras and do object detection and can trigger an event based on I detected a human being, or I detected a dog, or I detected something. So we could set this up around our aviary where we have peafowl and chickens. And if we see a dog or a grisson or any type of predator, a cat, we could trigger an alarm and know to roll out there or to send the dogs out to do what they do. Come on. Peter's asking if I've looked into ZoneMinder. I recognize the name. I may have looked at it years ago, but no. So I will make a note to look at ZoneMinder. ZoneMinder. All right. Grocy, I'm not going to talk about. I was going to ask if anybody uses this enough to make it valuable. So just very quickly, grocery enabling systems. First of all, they don't work down here in Chile, but the obsessive compulsive in me likes the idea of everything I buy, I scan with a barcode. And then when the wife goes to cook, she takes a can of beans out and scans it with the barcode scanner and knows that like it increases and decreases the inventory so that at the end of every month, we know what we need to go buy to replace. But every time I've tried to use one of these systems, they just don't get used because it's just so much more work than just take a can of beans out and cook it. If any of you use a grocery management like system and have found it to a grocery management system like this and have found it to be life-changing and easy to integrate into your daily life workflow, let me know. Okay. There are other things out there that are amazing. Browser-based automatic application discovery for all of your home lab applications. What? Awesome. Here's another one that does a similar thing. So if you're running a whole bunch of stuff and you don't necessarily need to remember or want to remember what's where and stuff like that, or if you have family members who aren't gonna, kubectl get ingress and filter for host name, you can just launch apps and then they have a portal that they can go to and it automatically finds them. Amazing. Just amazing. And so much more out there that I can't put on the show, that I don't have time to put on the show. Rabbit hole. And I will be rolling some of these things out. But the thing that I'm most excited about, Devin's entire home environment is driven by GitOps. And he has all of his GitOps deployment code out here in a public repo for us to go and look at. So this is, it's managed by GitOps. He's using Flux and Helm Operator to watch the deployments folder and make changes to the cluster based on the YAML manifests. So if you come up here to the deployments folder, you'll see everything that he's running. And the first thought is, why would you put your whole cluster outline? Talk is hard. Why would you put everything from your home environment online publicly where people can see it? Because because Firefox just crashed. Really? Hello, Firefox? Hang on a second. Because Firefox just decided to move to a different window. There you go. Because he is using a tool. Where is it? Oh, I thought it was on this page. He's using an encryption. There it is. Gitcrypt. So he encrypts certain files in the repository such that they can only be decrypted with a key that's on his actual machines. I'm going to steal all of this and learn from it. You hear me talk about GitOps, I'm like, oh, I really want to like do GitOps-y stuff, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't really know where to start. And when I sit down on the weekend, I'm like, okay, I've got 2 hours to do something. I know I'm going to spend an hour and a half of that trying to figure out, like, do I use Flux? Do I use Argo? Do I use Fleet? Do I use what, how, what? But here is somebody, this is a model example of community. When I talked to him yesterday, everything was about doing things for the community. He learns something, he shares it so that other people can learn from him. He finds people who want to learn and he brings them into a home where they can practice the GitOps stuff. So there's this repo, there's the K8s at home org, which I don't even know what else is out there. Okay, so just the charts. Oh, and the website. Oh, they have a website. Who knew? Okay. There are other users in the community. He made sure to tell me that this isn't entirely him. There are other people also contributing stuff from whom he has learned his own things. And they have a Discord server, which he put up yesterday and I took down. But if he was actually in the chat and not driving somebody to work right now, I would tell him to post it again. You can get it from his repo here. There's a link, discord.gg. In fact, let me just copy that and I will post it in the chat. What? Oh, he's in, oh, is he in the chat? I hope you're not like typing and driving, Devin. Oh, invalid invite. Yeah, okay, so that invite doesn't work. Okay, well, fail. Anyway, there you go. We're gonna end a minute early today unless I can like scroll back in the chat and find something else to talk about. Oh, look at that. People are already talking in Discord about stuff that they've learned today from OneDrop, from Devin. I come from the old school days where everybody had a handle, and it wasn't as stupid as like crash override and stuff, but back in the BBS days, you had a handle or an alias. So we just got in the habit of just referring to people as that. So I know people, I don't actually know their real names. Netmask, Cryo. Then there are some people whose real names I do know, but I still just refer to them. You know, Tribble, Stain. I don't know, I guess we make associations, we build relationships, and why should I call them anything else? Well, actually, that's not true. Netmask, we do have other names for. Tribble knows Netmask, and he knows what those names are. Okay. Devin says, please don't DDoS me. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you, Devin, for putting this together, for introducing all of us to your community. Yeah, the link on the repo is busted. Whatever. He'll get a new link up there. So check later for an updated link on the repo. Join the chat and deploy some of this stuff and come back. Join their Discord. I've been hanging out there since yesterday afternoon. There's a bunch of really, really cool people over there. This is community, people. This is the future. I'm gonna close with a story before I do my outro. My very first job as a system administrator. Let's see, can I say this online? I straight up lied in the interview. Well, not straight up lied, but basically I went into this job. It's a software development company in Colorado, in Denver, in whatever, the tech center. And they were all software developers and they were hiring a system administrator. And I knew that they didn't know the technology that they were asking me about. So if I knew how to define something that they asked me about, I told them I knew how to do it. Because I knew that I could rely on my friend, Dave, to support me. And I got the job. And I knew how to do some of the stuff, but when I got stuck, I could call Dave. And Dave ran an ISP in Colorado. And Dave always stopped what he was doing and took my call and talked me through whatever I was stuck on so I could get to the next step. Now look where I am and what I do and what I've learned and this career that goes back 20 plus years. All of it comes back to that one individual taking the time to help me. We don't know the impact of the people that we interact with every single day. When somebody has a question, even if the question is stupid and they don't know how to ask a good question, don't get mad at them. Help them. Help them know how to ask a good question. Help them know how to provide enough information that somebody can help them. Because if nobody helps them, then they don't get any help and they don't move forward. Every single one of us can look into our past and find somebody that's my Dave Denny, that's your whomever, that helped you get to where you are. Pay that forward. Okay. Wow. I'm gonna cry. If you liked what you saw today, as I scroll back. If you liked what you saw today, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitch to get notifications when I start streaming. Links to everything that I talk about on the show go up in the free community site at community.cncn.io after the show ends. Come join us. Community members get access to the links in the video replay a day before the rest of the internet, although that might change because, well, whatever. We're still figuring out how to put what where for the best benefit for everybody. But the community site is free, and the community is growing every single day. If there's something that you would like for me to consider for the show, please hit me up and let me know. You can mention me in a post on the community. You can ping me on Discord or Twitter. I'm like super easy to find. Thank you to Devin and Jeff and everybody else in their community for putting all of this together so that we can share it today. I mean, it was an honor and a privilege for me to share this with everybody. I find this to be, sorry all the companies who watch the show, but this kind of thing from people, for no other reason than because they love to do it. I would do this every single day if I could. I mean, I do it every single day in the show, but like this content. So if you have more of this, come tell me, because holy cow, this is amazing. Have a great day, everyone. Keep learning. I will see you in the next show.